Hello everyone, welcome to Delhi UPSC Secrets. Today in this video, we're gonna discuss the chronology of modern Indian history. So the modern Indian history starts with the advent of Europeans because these were the people who were trying to explore the world primarily in search of India in order to have raw materials for their trading purposes. So in an order, we have Portuguese who entered India first, then Dutch, then English, then Danes, and then French. So these are the people who have entered India first. So when it comes to Portuguese, it was between 1498 and 1502 where we see the influence of Portuguese. In 1498, Vasco da Gama discovers sea route to India, and from then he had entered Calicut region and he was received by Manu Vikram Verma, the king in that particular region. And also, Portuguese started establishing their settlements from 1502 in Calicut, Cochin, Cananore, and all. Portuguese primary purpose is trade of spices, and they were the first people to start licensing system in India. And next to Portuguese, we have Dutch, English, Danes, and French. So obviously, when various powers enters into Indian subcontinent, there would be rivalry within these particular powers. So the period between 1600 to 1700 is a reign where you see the rivalries between all these European nations. So it was first Dutch who founded their Dutch East Indian Company in 1602 in 1602 and 3. Then later there was one battle called Battle of Swale between Portuguese and English. Obviously, they are competing with each other for the trading purposes. So when it comes to the downfall of Portuguese, Battle of Swale marks the beginning because it was in 1612 where the Battle of Swale have taken place. Later, Dutch were defeated, Dutch defeated Portuguese. Portuguese were expelled by, people in this particular regions. For example, in 1600s, in 1630, here Shah Jahan expelled Portuguese from Hooghly region. And later, in 1644, is a time where French East India Company was founded. It means between that itself you have Europe, the English who are entering into India. Okay, and moreover, in this particular period, there were huge lot of rivalries that were happening between Dutch and English. Then 1700 to 1857 is a period which marks the beginning of British because English have become the de facto rulers after 1700s. We'll understand how it has happened. First of all, you will observe first the English and French fighting for trading purposes. They are all from earlier itself they are rivals, and within India as well you would observe Anglo-French rivalry, which we actually study under something called Carnatic Wars. The first Carnatic War happened between 1746 to 48. Then there is second Carnatic War between 49 to 54, and the third one between 57 to 73. So it means Anglo-French rivalry tells us ki how English have started, showing their influence. It means they have defeated Portuguese, they have defeated Dutch, they have defeated French, and finally the British or the English establishes their particular power in India. It all started with trading, and now it turns into something called rivalry and authoritarianship. Now, with respect to Anglo-French rivalry, Carnatic wars, between whom these wars were fought, etc., used to be understood. Basically, when it comes to Anglo-French rivalry, these English people used to intrude into the internal politics of the country. Basically, the first Carnatic War started from Austrian succession war between English and France, but later it turned into different other things. Then next to Anglo-French rivalry, we have Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. These are the two important battles that were happening. Remember, people, English, when they are trying to showcase their power, when they are defeating the rival Europeans, they parallelly also established their power in the regional areas as well. It means important areas like Bengal, Mysore, then Travancore, which is nothing but today's Kerala region, then Hyderabad region, then Maratha region. All these regions having so much of rivalry with the so-called English people. For example, when it comes to Bengal, this was a region where you find Battle of Plasse and Buxar. Then when it comes to Mysore, you have Anglo-Mysore wars, then Anglo-Maratha wars, Anglo-Sikh wars. So it means Punjab as well was under the British. So it means over a period of time, British have waged various wars between all these particular regional kingdoms. These are the super kingdoms or super areas where they can showcase their power. So over a period of time, things have changed, and that have led to Anglo-Mysore, Anglo-Maratha, Anglo-Sikh wars. And if you see here in this picture, it is clearly showcasing how Battle of Plasse and Buxar have happened. These two battles are the most important battles that were fought between British and the Indian powers, because Europeans fought with each other between 16 to 1700, but later they are now interested in order to rule this particular country, because that's where they can get tax exemptions. That's what something which motivated them. Initially, they were not in a motivation to rule the country. They're just here to trade. Okay. Now, basically coming to Battle of Plasse have raised due to the conflicts between the Nawabs and the company. Basically, Murshid Quli Khan was the Nawab of Bengal between 1717 to 1727. Okay, now this person have cancelled certain things, certain things that were given to the company's trade. After Murshid Quli Khan, Ali Wardi Khan, Siraj ud Dawla were the powerful rulers of Bengal. Siraj was even not okay with the company's trade, as they were causing huge lot of revenue loss to the Bengal region. So this also, the company's attitude also undermined Nawab's authority. Then what happened? That led to the conflict called Battle of Plasse between Nawab of Bengal and the English, which is called as, the most important, I can say, the first battle that was that was fought hugely. Okay, then in 1764, this is in 1757, and in 1764 you see Battle of Buxar. Remember, Buxar marks the beginning of the so-called company's rule in India, because after Battle of Buxar, things got changed in the Indian subcontinent. In 1765, the Nawab Mir Jafar died, and Clave, who is a governor from the British side, okay, at that particular point of time, used to, you know, used to used to make Nawabs the puppets. So it means this particular English people have started gaining Diwani rights. Okay, Diwani rights of Bengal at that particular time means Bengal plus Orissa plus Bihar region. So it means now company acquired to collect the revenue. It means that actually marked the beginning of changes within India. Then from that particular point of time, it means from 1764 till 1857, which is the most crucial event that had happened in this particular time, which is called as the revolt of 1857. You would see the company ruling the Indian subcontinent. because in your polity as well, you will be coming across the acts, the rule, the Company Act 1773, Regulating Act of 1773, where Supreme Courts get established in Calcutta, and various other changes that were happening. It means after Battle of Buxar, it marks the beginning of company rule in the country. Then there were various changes that were happening within the company rule. It means they started charging revenue. They started, imposing what do you say called permanent settlement systems. The revenue system have changed a lot. So it means basically you can see, first of all, in the initial days of British arrival, you observe mercantile capitalism. It means between 17, you can say Battle of Plassey, say 1813 tak, there were mercantile capitalism. Then from 1813 to 1858, it is called as industrial capitalism, because India became an exporter of raw materials and importer of finished goods. It means British captured the native Indian market, because they started introducing various systems, something called as Jamindari systems by Cornwallis, where 10/11 of the share should be given to English. Then there is Raitwari system, Mahalwari system. So there were various changes. They started imposing various financial capitalistic, what do you say, financial capitalistic rules in the country. It means that has actually suppressed India a lot. Okay, then in 1829, they abolished sati, they introduced English education, they started spreading Christianity, and moreover, there were something called Hindu Widow Remarriage Act, General Services Enlistment Act, and Indian soldiers were used to get low salaries, and British policy economically exploited India through a high revenue demands. So it means what? There were huge lot of exploitation that was happening. It means between 1800 to 1857, there were various policies that were coming, coming from the British to annex Indian states. And one of the important policies is doctrine of subsidiary alliance. What is this doctrine? This doctrine basically were Indian rulers. Okay, the Indian rulers were not allowed to maintain their independent army. They were to be protected by the Britain forces, and in return, rulers had to pay subsidiary forces the amount, salaries, and all. It was by Lord Wellesley, it was framed. And the famous doctrine which has led to the revolt, which is called as Doctrine of Lapse. So, whoever the Indian ruler died with no male successor in his kingdom, the kingdom of that particular king would be lapsed. It means they will be coming under Britain. It means British started exploiting more and more with the help of doctrine of lapse. It means king, if he dies without a male successor, the whole kingdom has to be surrendered to British. And later, the revolt of 1857 happened with the annexation of the kingdoms like Satara, and then Sambalpur, and then Udaipur, and then Nagpur, and then Jhansi. So all these particular kingdoms were coming under, they were all annexed, under doctrine of lapse. And all these particular people started showing revolt. Okay, so it means 1857 marks the beginning of British paramountcy. Okay, it means the company rule ended after the revolt. Of course, the revolt was suppressed. Various causes that were, responsible for the revolt. Maybe the revenues that were collected, high revenue demands, the use of Royal Enfield rifles, the cartridges which were greased with fat of cow and pig. That is something which hurt the religious sentiments of the Indian soldiers. Abolition of sati, introduction of English education, Christianity, and various causes, various reasons led to the revolt of 1857. And if you see here, there are major centers of the 1857 revolt which were showcased in the map. So we have Gwalior, Jhansi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Faizabad, Delhi, Meerut, and many more. So it means all these are the main centers of 1857 revolt. But due to lack of proper leadership, many princely states supporting British in suppressing the rebellion, this 1857 revolt, it was suppressed by the British. So Indian troops, sepoys, they reached Delhi, showcasing that Bahadur Shah as a leader of the revolt. And Gwalior fort is captured by the British. Then Indian Sepoy mutiny officially comes to an end by 1858. Now it means what? Now British understood that there are chances of having certain such revolts in the later periods as well. Now British comes up with a new policy changes. It means between 1857 to 1870, you observe the British Raj begins. It means what? Here, from the company rule, now we have been shifted to crown rule. Okay, so in the reaction to the revolt, the British government comes up with something called Act of Good Governance or Act of Good Government of India, which is called as 1858 Act. This particular act, it means what? They themselves were agreeing that act for better government of India means till then the governance is not so good. It means what? It was a sign to convince people that British were coming here to do some help to the Indians. But British started having divide and rule policy. It means what? They want to divide India on the basis of casteism and communalism. They partially adopted modern principles like liberty, equality, and justice. But the major policy till the independence is it is in after even after the independence as well. It was divide and rule policy because they want to have they need to earn huge lot of income from the Indian what do you say Indian territory. Then they have given British company, the British came up with the Indian Councils Act of 1861 to fulfill the aspirations of Indians, making them believe that they would be a part of country's lawmaking process. They came up with 1861 what do you say Indian Councils Act. But this particular era marks the beginning of political uprising from, within India. In 1861, we have Archaeological Survey of India that was established, and after that. There were certain administrative changes that had happened with the Government of India Act in 1858, and the social atmosphere of India, if you consider, that is also changing within the country. It means what? From 1857 to 1870, you can say in the British Raj period, India, they divided the country. They divide and rule the country, divide Hindu community on the rigid caste system. It means for a certain point of time they have favored a lot the Hindu community in order to make certain changes between Hindus and the other religious communities. Okay, then from 1876 to 1885, we see various political uprising, as I told you. So, Indian people, by that particular point of time, most of the people in the middle classes were little educated. Now, in 1876, Pune Sarvajanik Samaj have established, then Madras Mahajan Sabha, Bombay Presidency Association. These were all happening between 1876, 1884 and 1885. And finally, all these political groupings starts off to show some social reforms. And now all the Indians are trying to establish a national party. But by that particular point of time, it was Lord Dufferin who actually suggests the senior person, Evo Hume. In fact, he insists Evo Hume to start a national party because they don't want Indians to start their own national party. So they comes up with the Indian National Congress, which was started by A.O. Hume. Then the formation of Indian National Congress happens in 1885. It was the most important political group that represents the rise of nationalism in India. Okay, so this particular year is a most important year because this was the time where a bigger national party started growing, but under Evo Hume because it was insisted by different. Okay, then next to 1885, there were certain changes. The period between 1885 to 1905 is called as the moderate phase of Indian National Congress. Moderates are nothing but people who always thinks of going for petitions, going for prayer, and then protest. It means what? They are people who actually thinks in a lines of law. Okay, they all actually have a moderate ideology. Okay, but between 1885 to 1905 there were certain achievements of moderates. Number one is having Indian Councils Act of 1892. This particular act, they could able to increase the Indian representation in the Indian Legislative Council in the British Parliament. Then next to that particular act, between 1885 to 1905, moderates could able to achieve certain things. They could able to showcase their importance in the country. Then in 1905, again there was a bigger change that happens because British partitioned Bengal partition happens because of Lord Curzon. Okay, although they say that it was because of the administrative convenience the Bengal was partitioned, they were the actual reason was to separate Muslim dominated region and the Hindu minority, to make Hindu minority people there. It means again, this partition is a beginning, or you can say it was a sign of divide and rule policy. The reason for the political uprising of the Muslims is the Bengal partition itself. Okay, then next to that, after partition of Bengal, you see the Swadeshi movements within the country. It means what? During the partition, Hindus were not happy because they started, feeling minor in the divided region. They started Swadeshi movement. Okay, and this Swadeshi movement was started by the extremist leaders of Indian National Congress. So it means what? You have now two groups of people in the Indian National Congress. Number one is moderates and number two is extremists. Lal, Bal, Pal, we say. Now from 1906 to 1911 is the phase where you see huge lot of extremist, extremist period we call. Extremist people who are coming and pressurizing the Britain. Okay, then we have Muslim League formation in 1906. Then Surat split, we say. It means this was the Surat session. The picture showcases the Surat session where moderates and extremists were divided within the Indian National Congress. Then India, India was huge lot of issues. Then British comes up with something called Morley Minto reforms in 1909 because Morley Minto reforms or whatever the rules. See, whenever there was a issue within the country, British comes up with a new law to showcase that they were concerned. Okay, but it was not actually true. It always have their own agendas. Always it used to have their own agendas. Then next to that, in 1911, national capital was shifted to Delhi from Calcutta. Earlier it was Calcutta, later it was shifted to Delhi. And in this particular period, there is a huge lot of political unrest in India. Okay. Then between 1914 to 1918, This is the most crucial period because it was a period of World War One. In the world, there was European allies and the Central Powers that were fighting against each other. Serbia, Russia, France, Britain, Italy, and United States on the one group, and Austria, Hungary, Bulgaria, Ottoman Empire on the other group. Now, what happens? British wants to participate in the World War One. So Indians expected that British would reward India's self-governance if Indians support Britain in the World War One. Now what happens? India supports British in the World War One, but nothing of that sort happened because British was not in a intent to leave India or to give them self-governance. Remember, people, in the earlier days, all the Indian, what do you say, delegates, or you can say moderates, or the leaders, they're all demanding self-governance. No one is talking about freedom, complete freedom. They're just asking self-governance itself, but failing of which led to various bigger revolts. Now let us talk about 1914 to 1918 period. In this period, the first important movement that you need to see is the Home Rule movement. As I told you, these people were demanding self-governance. You all might be aware of Annie Besant, the INC president in 1917. She was one of the important person in the Home Rule. She's the important person in the Home Rule League movement in 1916. Then next to Home Rule movement, you see the Gandhi arriving into India after his, what do you say, roaming throughout the country. It means Gandhi have, roamed around India to look into various aspects in the country. Okay, by 1915, he again comes back and Gandhi starts Champaran Satyagraha against taxation on indigo farms. Okay, because in this particular period, British were waging a war in the World War One, right? In order to fund the war, they actually taxed so much from the indigo farmers to fund the war. So it means in 1918, when World War ended, British did not give self-governance as well. Although Indians have supported them in the World War One, British did not give them self-governance. And in 1918, Gandhi starts Kheda Satyagraha. It means it was a time where the earlier days of Gandhi's influence happening within the country. The next to Keda Satyagraha, to calm down Indian people, because British anyway were not ready to give self-governance. Now they comes up with something called Government of India Act 1919, which are also called as Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. This is a tactic to make people believe that British do border. As I told you, whenever there was an issue, they comes up with an act to cool down Indians. Okay, then in after 1918, again there were again changes that were happening. Okay, because Montagu Chelmsford reforms, if you consider, it was actually rejected by Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and all, whereas it was accepted by Annie Besant, Bipin Chandrapal and Surendranath. Okay, but of course there were various changes. Montagu Chelmsford, Indians did not like it because they were expecting Swaraj, self-governance. Okay, but reported this particular Montagu Chelmsford created more communalism. Okay, then British comes up with something called Rowlatt Act. It means between 1990 to 1922, again this particular period is the beginning of Gandhian era in the Indian, what do you say, politics. Okay, in the Indian region, we see Gandhian era. In 1919, okay, British comes up with Rowlatt Act in order to control Indians from raising against British. In order to suppress their freedom of expression, British started Rowlatt Act. This gives power to arrest any Indian without trial. That is Rowlatt Act. And when a group of people in Jallianwala Bagh region, when they were, when they were about to discuss certain important things, religious things and all, there was an incident that took place, which actually, which actually considered as the more black day in the country, because in this particular Jallianwala Bagh massacre, huge lot of innocent people were died. Okay, then after the incident, Gandhi starts non-cooperation movement. See, people, non-cooperation movement is something to, the aim of Indian National Congress to condemn Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh incidents. And non-cooperation movement is again a showcase, something which tells you ki India wants independence, full independence from the British. And parallelly in the same period, it was Khilafat movement that was happening within the India. Okay, so Indian Muslims along with Gandhi all supported Khilafat movement. Okay, so Khilafat is again suppressed. Okay, then the non-cooperation movement was started in 1920, and due to Chauri Chaura incident where a group of policemen were burnt by the Indian people, Gandhi withdrew that, because Gandhi is a person who always supports non-violent struggles. With Chauri Chaura incident, the non-cooperation movement was withdrawn by the Gandhiji. Okay. Then next in 1922 to 29, this is a period where you see huge lot of struggle for Swaraj, and the British appoints Simon Commission, basically according to Government of India Act 1919, which is obviously called as the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. A provision was there that after 10 years a statutory commission should be set up to study the working of what is a government within India. It means it should be framed in 1929, means 1919 say 10 years. It means in 1929 it has to be formed. But before that itself, the Conservative Party in UK, they were scared of defeat by the Labour Party. They want to introduce, they want to showcase some good things within them, and they started Simon Commission. They set up Simon Commission in 1927 itself with all 7 British members. This is something which has outraged Indians, because if you want to study or if you want to analyze the government functions within India, you need to include Indian people as well, because by then most of the Indians were educated also. So you should include Indian people. There were INC leaders as well. Okay, Indians were outraged by the exclusion of Indians from the Simon Commission, and they started doing some hartals like this, like Simon, go back, etc. Okay, then in 1928, a group of people, a committee was appointed by all party conference in 1928, and a draft constitution of the committee, which is called as Nehru report, comes up in 1928. Then later, INC, the Indian National Congress, declares Purna Swaraj on December 1929. It means what? They themselves were declaring, because INC have two options before them, either to get dominion status or to get Purna Swaraj. Now they declares Purna Swaraj, and the things gets more and more complex for the Britain. And in that particular time, Gandhiji starts a civil disobedience movement. See, people, Mahatma Gandhi ji have did huge lot of non-violent struggles, okay, within which non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement and finally the Quit India movement are the most crucial ones. Okay, what happens is that Okay, when Purna Swaraj was declared as an agenda, civil disobedience movement is the way to get Purna Swaraj. That was what the Mahatma ji have felt. So Gandhi ji was the man to plan and organize that. Now to create a movement, we need a particular situation. Now Gandhi ji chooses to break the salt tax. So he started marching to Dandi region in 1930. Okay, because in order to launch civil disobedience movement, this was the thing that we need to consider, because salt tax is something which is not tolerated. Okay, then later what happens? We have Pune Pact. Okay, then there were round table conferences, because during this time Lord Irwin was the Viceroy of India. He suggested that round table conference could able to solve some issues within the country, because there was nationwide boycott of British goods, there was civil disobedience movement, Dandi march by Gandhi ji, and in UK the Labour Party government has came to power. There was inadequacy in the Simon report. Okay, and there were various changes that were happening. Then in the round table conference itself, we have Gandhiji and Irwin Pact, Gandhi Irwin Pact we say. Okay, then in the second round table conference, Irwin requests Gandhiji to attend, and Gandhiji was the sole representative of the Congress party. Then, 2 months, before the second roundtable conference, Labour Party was replaced by Conservative Party again. Okay, so it means what? Next to all the three roundtable conferences, Simon report was not proper. Three roundtable conferences were held, and all the proposals, every change were kept in Government of India Act 1935, which is replaced by the Constitution of India after 1947. So, okay, in the third roundtable conference, we actually see Pune Pact, which was signed between Congress and Ambedkar ji. Okay, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji. So, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji asked for a separate electorate in the roundtable conferences, and Mahatma Gandhi ji was against this particular thing. Okay, anyway, so these are all something situations that led to Government of India Act 1935, and after 34 civil disobedience movement was ended. Now what is happening? Gandhi ji have withdrawn himself from the active politics. Now what happens? There was provisional elections that were held in the Indian subcontinent, and this was something which is the most crucial one, because in the provincial elections you can see here, in out of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11 provinces except 3, all the 7 were won by Indian National Congress. Okay, so INC failed to form government in the 3 provinces. That's it. Final results were declared, and Congress forms government in 8 out of 11 provinces within the country. It means what? Congress started for the first time, ruling in the British India between 1937 to 1939. And Muslim League also started attacking Congress due to the insensitivity of the Congress towards Muslim culture. So there were again internal disturbances that were happening. So between 1939 to 1945 is a period of World War II. Now what happens? British government, without consulting Indian leaders who were elected in the province, they declared war with Germany. British thought that as Indians supported in World War One, now also you will get Indian support. But during World War One, Indians were in an expectation of self-government, so they supported. But during World War Two, Indian National Congress now demands for independence before war. It's not what do you say, self-government. It's not dominion status. We need complete independence. Okay, so it means what? INC resigned from all the provinces. They were not happy at all. Then Viceroy Linlithgow proposed August offer. Okay, and for the first time, Indians were given a chance to frame a constitution, but of course, it was failed. And then, in after August offer, Gandhiji initiated individual satyagraha, and Britain needs Indian support, right? So they formed Cripps Mission. Sir Stafford Cripps, was sent to India to get Indian support in the war. Cripps Machine was sent to negotiate with the Indian National Congress and Muslim League as well. Cripps said that British was ready to offer dominion status, but both INC and Muslim League rejected because it was something which is not possible, and it is something which we do not need. We don't need dominion status anymore. We need complete independence. And Gandhiji comes up with something called Quit India movement. Gandhiji launches this Quit India movement with a slogan, do or die. However, almost entire leadership of INC was imprisoned by then. It means British government have, have to decide. Of course, this particular government have support of princely state, Indian Imperial Police, British Indian Army, Muslim League and all. But the Quit India movement have started taking its own ways. Okay, it means what? Quit India movement is something which is the most crucial one. In the same period, our Subhash Chandra Bose ji starts Indian National Army called as Azad Hind Fauj. And later, next to that, after Quit India movement, in 25th of June 1945, there held a meeting between Lord Wavell and all the major political leaders of British India, including Mahatma Gandhi ji and Muhammad Ali Jinnah as well. So, in Shimla Conference 1945, they want to discuss Wavell plan, we say. Okay, and between 1945 to 46 is the era where Indian people starts having their own, constitution. They started framing constitution, and Climate Attlee, sent cabinet mission to transfer powers to India. Cabinet mission is a group of three people: Panthick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander. The main objective is to transfer power to India from the British government to the Indian leaders by framing constitution and set up a interim government. Of course, the cabinet mission also failed as Muslim League now demands for partition. Okay, so after cabinet mission plan, the constituent assembly is constituted. At Jinnah calls for a direct action day. Most of the people died due to riots because direct action day is all about bloodshed. Ultimately, made Congress to forcefully accept the division of the country. We asked for united India, but we have something called divided India with the partition plan by Mountbatten. Mountbatten proposed partition to divide India and Pakistan. And we have Indian subcontinent, East Pakistan, which is today's Bangladesh, and West Pakistan. Okay, then due to partition, there are huge lot of riots that were happening within the country. Okay, you can see the pictures how various people lost their families, lost their livelihood, and it was all chaos. But with all these particular things, India now becomes independent on 15th of August 1947. So it all started from the exploration of Vasco da Gama in 1498 until 1947. There were huge lot of changes in the social, political, economic, and various other spheres in the country. Congratulations, everyone. Now India becomes independent in 1947. And this was the newspaper that shows India becomes independent and British rule ends. You can see Mountbatten's appointment as Governor General engrossed, and colorful ceremony marks the birth of new nation. So this is all about the chronology of modern India. Thanks a lot for attending the session, everyone. And Delhi UPSC Secrets also offers huge lot of content. You can talk with our experts. We have Vishal sir, who have cleared 6 prelims, 6 mains, and 6 interviews. He have also been selected as IAS, IPS, and IRS. Delhi UPSC Secrets app is available in Google Play Store and App Store as well. And for more content like this, please subscribe to our Delhi UPSC Secrets channel and click the bell icon to get the notifications of all the new lectures that were coming up. Thank you.